Hi everybody, welcome to Jade Productions again. I am wearing a different outfit than I will be wearing in the video. I realized I didn't record an intro for this video of editing. If you watched my last video, you know it's because I recorded the video all in one big sitting until I realized I didn't want my video to be 30 minutes long. So, decided to break it up to make it easier to ingest. But this is Jade Productions. I talk about movies, books, and TV shows and my thoughts on them, or I recap them. So this video I will be continuing my talk on Fourth Wing. It is going to be my second video, and I will be getting into challenges, and I think the gauntlet is the other thing I talk about in this. So, yep, hope you all enjoy. Get to the video. Get back to scribes, whatever, yay. So then, after Power Pet, the second thing they have to accomplish is challenges, which is just randomly paired them to like fight hand on hand. They can kill each other. So knives are involved. Your signet powers, which is a power you can get if you're a second year, because that means you bonded with a dragon. So she essentially, she's horrible at challenges. So she needs trained. And her best friend, Ree, ends up being fantastic at challenges, but really bad at history. And Violet, who trained her whole life to be a scribe, is really, really good at history because she's already learned it all to pass the scribe test. So they do a little exchange where she's like, I'll help you with history and you help me with training. And so they do that. But Violet ends up getting a book from her sister. She sends it to her because after a certain amount of time, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exacts, but after a certain amount of time, people that are not in first years can send mail. And she sends the book and says, hey, this helped me through my first year. Brennan gave it to me, which is their dead older brother. I've already mentioned that. And she's reading it and it says, hey, just so you know, you can find out who you're facing before you face them. It's not that random. And Violet, being really smart, goes, I'm gonna poison them. So she starts poisoning, not to kill them. She doesn't kill any of them with it. She poisons them so they're sick and throwing up or passing out. So she wins the challenges and battles really, really easily. However, Xaden picks up on this. And one time she poisons them a little bit too much. She puts a little bit too much poison. And the person passes out before they even fight. So she's not going to have to fight, right? That's what she's thinking. She's like, okay, good. I don't have to fight. I'll live. But then Xaden goes, I'll challenge her. I'll take the challenge. And he goes, but I won't use weapons. So he takes all of his weapons off. And Violet's like, oh my gosh, he's being so cocky. Blah, 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 blah. And he basically says, he's showing how easy it is for him to disarm her and say, if you keep poisoning them, you're not going to get any better. And she's like, wait, he knows. So then she's a little worried and is like, but she's also a prideful person. So relatable. So she's trying to fight back and losing horribly because he's a third year. Zane's a third year, so he graduates. It's weird that third years graduate, not fourth years. There's no fourth year, there's only 3. Don't ask me, didn't read the book. So it's a little weird, but Xaden basically says that and says, you need training. So she's like, yeah, I'm getting it basically, essentially. I don't remember every detail of that part. It's kind of, it's important, but it's kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boring. So, let me think. So once she gets through challenges and she becomes pretty good, she's really good at knife throwing. She decides to go out to the forest to get some distance, I guess. I really don't remember why she went out to the forest. again, I don't remember everything. I'm basically done with the second book, so I don't remember everything from the first. But she's out in the woods, and then she sees, like, 4 people, children of the rebellion, meeting, and the rule is they're not allowed to be in bigger than groups of 3. And she sees, like, I think 4 or 5 of them. And it's Xaden, Imogen, Garrick. Garrick is Xaden's cousin, which you don't find that out until later. Imogen is a first year or second year. Not really sure on Imogen's, like, year. And then there's also Liam, and then, like, 2 other first years. I don't remember their names. I think one of them's Soriel, but I don't remember the other one. He ends up dying, so it's not really important. But Zane's basically meeting with them and asking, what do you guys need help with? And, like, what are you guys struggling with? Because I don't want you guys to end up dying, right? And she ends up being like, they all go through what they're having troubles with, and Liam's like, I can train them in this. Imogen goes, I can train them in this. And he goes, good, I don't want anybody dying, but I also can't save you if you don't want to be saved. So, like, he's basically telling him, you gotta work to survive, but I will help if you want to. And so then they all go off. And then he confronts Violet because he knows she's there. And she's like, how did you know? I didn't make a noise, And one of the things in the meeting, this is important. I don't know how I almost forgot this, but all of them were like, what about Violet? Who's gonna kill her? And they're all arguing who gets to kill Violet, because none of them like her because her mom murdered their parents. And Zane goes, she's mine. And they're all like, okay, like, whatever, since he's, like, the strongest of them, right? And their leader. And they're like, fine. And then he goes up to her, and she's like, I didn't make a noise, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I can control shadows. So that's his signet, is he can control the shadows, and the shadows can talk to him. If you've read A Court of Thorns and Roses, it's kind of like Azrael, okay? He's kind of got Az's power. So he's like, yeah, blah, blah. She goes, so when are you going to kill me? Blah, blah, blah. Why keep me guessing here? Blah, blah, blah. And he essentially says, like, not yet. I'm not going to, like, kill you yet. Like, it's not, no. And then he ends up, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where that ends. It's a little odd. I know. But that's where that ends. So, she walks away liking Xaden a little more. She has a lot more respect for him because he's trying to help the first year survive. So yeah. That's kind of where that ends. That's not the end of the first book at all. That's like a third of it. But it's kind of all the important parts I remember from there. But she starts to talk to Dane, and Dane's like, you have to stay away from him, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, okay, but she finds out Dane can read memories by touching them. She doesn't actually know. She doesn't know it's by touching them. She knows he can read memories. And so she's like, she keeps her distance kind of from him because she doesn't want him to read a memory and see what happened and that she saw Xaden meeting with them, because then Xaden and his whole group could be kicked out, and then she could also be kicked out. By kicked out, I mean killed. So right now her only thing is surviving Gauntlet, which is this big obstacle course that they have to go through. And the point of it is for them to basically simulate crawling up a dragon's leg, which you don't figure that out until, I guess, after Gauntlet, once the thrashing is happening, which is when they either get killed by a dragon, killed by another cadet, which is another first year, or bond with a dragon. So, yeah. So she is focusing on succeeding in this Gauntlet. And she's doing pretty good. She has a friend die, though, during training. I think her name's Aurora. Again, a lot of the characters they introduce, like, she introduces for a chapter and then they die that chapter. So, sorry if I'm messing up the names. The ones I know, it's because they're important throughout the whole thing. But, so, Violet ends up getting in a squad with Rihanna, Redoc, Sawyer, and I think that's it. I think that's the core 4, kind of, for that group. There's more in their wing, but I really don't remember their whole wing, because that's like 30 people. Maybe more. Dane is their squad leader, and then Xaden is their wing leader. So, there's some roles there. Power roles. So, she's going through Gauntlet. She sees her friend Aurora die, and she's like, oh my gosh, there's no point. Like, I can't get over this one thing. And Xaden goes, the right way isn't the only way. That's kind of all he tells her. And it's kind of like, if you know American Ninja Warrior, the thing she's getting real stuck on is, like, you know that giant wall they gotta sprint and, like, grab onto? Well, something you find out about Violet is she's got really weak limbs and ligaments. So, like, she gets injured very easily. She'll fall and, like, her knee will be at, like, socket and stuff, which isn't great for challenges when they're trying to kill each other and they're, like, dislocating each other's shoulders frequently. But people, they do have healers. There is a whole unit of healers, which she goes to frequently. There's specifically one she goes to that's been healing her since she was really little, because this is the condition she's had her whole life. So she finds a way. She essentially grabs a rope that is on the course that is used for, like, during training. If you're going to, like, fall, maybe you can grab onto that and fall, like, less harshly, where you don't die rather than plummeting to your death. So she grabs that and she puts it where she can just, like, and, like, pins it or ties it somewhere and, like, crawls up it to get to the top, and then uses her knife to, like, stab it into, like, partway up the wall and fling herself to the top. Which people try to say, a specific person tries to say it is her cheating, which ends up being one of Dane's friends, and she's like, no, because she has the codex memorized, because, again, she was training to be a scribe. So she has it memorized, and she specifies how none of the stuff she did was against the rules, but Xaden does a wing leader punishment and says, like, 30-minute penalty, which doesn't really matter in the end, because all that matters is if your squad gets through Gauntlet, and they did. So that leaves one of Xaden's friends really mad at Violet, and I'm struggling to remember her name. But she ends up trying to, like, I'll get to that. That happens after Threshing. So Threshing comes. She's survived Gauntlet. She's survived the Power Pet. And Dane is still trying to convince her to go to Scribes. Now, this is where Dane starts making me mad. And you can tell because I'm getting real mad. But Dane decides to keep trying to push her to go to Scribes. And Violet is starting to fall in love with being a writer. It's making her feel stronger. It's making her feel like she can handle herself. She's like, I've already survived the worst of it. Now, the only part that's left is the part I can't control, which is of dragging bombs to me. But I've already survived, like, everything else. And people are still trying to kill her, and she's still surviving. And Dane's still trying to convince her to, like, do this thing, yada, 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 right? And she's like, I'm not doing it. Like, you're not supporting me. Like, she's getting real mad at Dane, low-key, because he's not supporting her. He's, like, trying to protect her, but also control her, which is very annoying And it's like hard because you're kind of liking him at the beginning because they're childhood friends. He's being sweet. He wants to protect her. He's protected her quite a bit. And he just starts to become kind of controlling. And Xaden tells Violet, like, he's not training you to protect yourself. He's trying to protect you. And what's he going to do when he's not there? What are you going to do when he's not there? So Xaden starts to, like, train her. And help her become a better fighter. And she has started to fall for Xaden. And she thinks Xaden doesn't like her. So that is the end of Gauntlet. Now, we will get into Threshing in the next video. I don't want my first video to be 30-something, 40-something minutes long. The book is like 700 pages, so there is a lot to talk about. But we will get into Threshing and more Xaden and Violet and Dane and that little love triangle more in the next episode. Hope you enjoyed my first video. Yeah, but this is the end of Jade Productions.